Hey, everybody, welcome to WDKX's Podcast Network. Thank you for joining us here on the After Show. Today's edition has a local vibe to it. I met Daniel Snead a couple of, months ago at the Y?
Absolutely.
We talked, and then I started following you on IG, and then we lost contact, mostly because of me. I ain't gonna even lie to you. It was mostly because of me. But we ran into each other at the barbershop, and I'm so glad I saw you because some of the content I've seen you do, I'm like, man, I got to get this guy on the show. And so we just started the WDKX Podcast Network, and I'm like, one of the guests, the first guest. Have we had any other guests in here, Site? Your first guest is got to be Daniel Snead.
That's what's up.
Because I read this book, Get More, Get More from the Game? And I thought to myself, I'm like, I want you to come on and talk a bit about this book, Daniel. First of all, are you from Rochester?
I'm from Rochester.
Can you explain to me the process of putting this book together?
All right. So the book came from a speech. So initially, so I want to get into speaking, and I am a speaker. And so I was looking to get into schools. And so I wrote the speech, Get More from the Game.
Yeah.
And again, it was all about everything that's in the book. So I was having trouble getting booked, to be honest. It was just really hard to get booked. And I just kind of, just doing just different research, my due diligence, it's like, write a book.
Yeah.
Make it a book. Like, I already had the concepts and the content.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of, okay, let me put this in a book form, because if I can put it in a book form, now it becomes accessible. Now it's the school doesn't have to pay me, X amount of dollars to bring me in. Now a kid can buy the book, now a parent can buy the book. And so again, it was a defeat. I could not get booked I couldn't get booked to speak.
Really?
And so because of the defeat there, I said, I'm gonna write a book.
All right, so wait. I'm going to come back to that because he got the word no, which gets to rejection and all the other different things. But through the no, you created something.
Absolutely.
And so we'll get to that. The reason why I want to get to I read some of the book. I just want to take a couple of different things from it. One of the things I got from it was an issue that we talked about in the barbershop. And I'm really concerned about communication, especially with the young people. I've got young people, so I know. We communicate, but every kid I have 3 different kids, so I got 3 different personalities.
Yep.
Each one you have to talk to.
I got 3 too.
Yeah,
so you know.
So you got to be this one with this one, that one with that one, but it's all with love.
Yep.
What I struggle with especially with young people is you answered this question perfectly in the barbershop. I said when we were kids growing up, we'd answer the phone. The phone would be in the house. That you would call that number and you would just say, "Hey, Spence residence. Who would you like? Who am I speaking with?" They would tell who they're speaking with and who they wanted to talk to. There is this concern I have with young people not answering the phone or talking to people face to face.
Yep.
That they may do it on text messages and they may do it through messaging. But in life, we have to have face-to-face confrontation, not confrontational, but just a face-to-face conversation, or be comfortable enough to call someone.
Yep.
And I was worried about this. I said, Daniel, I was like, why don't young people call or pick up the phone? And what was your answer? Do you remember what you said?
I know exactly what I said.
What'd you say?
They do not understand the value.
And when you said it, I said, oh man, I got to get this guy on the podcast because it was enlightening. What did you mean that they don't understand the value of it?
So let me just even go to the word value.
Okay.
Right. A lot of times people really don't understand that word, right? And so when you look at a young person who they haven't lived a lot, right? So what is value to them, right? So if you say to them, all right, so give me your phone, you know what I'm saying? Or give me all of your clothes. Like you got to pick one, right? Well, they're going to pick that phone.
Yeah.
Because that's valuable to them. They would rather have that than have the clothes, right? Because that's their lifeline to the world. So when you start to paint this picture so they can understand what is value, because you hear that's the thing, add value, but what is value?
Yeah.
Well, value is when you would rather sit on the phone all night with a friend of yours than get sleep and be prepared for the next day.
Yes.
You value the conversation more than you value that rest to be prepared for the next day. That's value, right?
Yes.
And so when you don't have someone specifically teach you these concepts, right? Because we live in a world where a lot is caught and very little is taught, right? But when you catch stuff, you catch the thing, but you don't catch the why.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
Yes, absolutely.
And when you're devoid of why, that's when stuff becomes rhetoric. That's when stuff becomes, well, I'm just doing this just because. But when you have the why, oh, I know why, I would choose my phone, because my phone is how I communicate. My phone is how I, do school. My phone is how I interact with the world around me. So that's why I would want my phone more than I would want my clothes, because that's the value of it.
I get it.
You see what I'm saying?
I understand. So when parents say, I'm taking your phone, you're taking all their perceived value.
Yes. And so now when you teach a young person what is valuable, and you help them to understand in the world around them what is valuable, right? So like right, different generations speak different languages.
Mm-hmm.
So to their generation, that text and all of that, that's the value. That's what they do.
Okay.
But they also have to understand that, hey, when you go to speak to a different generation, there might be a different currency. You can't bring the same currency here and expect to get the same result as over here.
Okay.
So when you understand, okay, well, we value this, but I understand that this generation values this.
Yeah.
So that's why I need to pick up that phone and call, because this generation values voice inflection. They value being able to understand. And it's for even me, like there's certain things that I won't even text, because I already know that if I text this, it's going to create a problem because my tone isn't there.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And so, and even now with voice memos, I'll do a voice memo because hey, you need to hear what I'm saying. You need to hear that my voice is calm. You need to hear that either my voice is inquisitive.
Yeah.
I'm curious, right?
Yeah.
I had a lady the other day on Facebook. She posted something and it was controversial. And so I had some thoughts and I also had questions for her. And so I wanted to engage, but I didn't want to cause a fight.
Yeah.
So I didn't go into the comment section because I wasn't there to debate. I really wanted understanding.
Yes.
So I'm going to send her a private message. And right before I typed, I said, nah, this is a voice memo. I sent a voice memo. It was a minute and a half. And I was able to articulate exactly what I wanted to say.
In the right tone.
Yeah. And then we had a beautiful dialogue afterwards because I value being understood. And to me, I try not to have an ego, right? Because a lot of times when you get into confrontation is born of ego.
Yeah.
It's born of my way of thinking is right, yours is wrong.
Yeah.
But I'm like, no, I'm really looking for understanding. I need to let that show through. And the words, your voice, it communicates that so much better than text.
It's so interesting you say that, because it's the value of understanding the right tone, way you want to say it, the sincerity behind it, the question. It's all inflection. But if young people are not talking, they don't know that these types of skills that are necessary, even in text messages, sending it in a certain way at a certain time. You're catching somebody at a different time. I also thought it was interesting in the book, you talked a little bit about understanding and talking to kids in the car. Like that has some value as well, so that they know this is in a conversation that's just in the car. Not everybody's around them. It's not a show. It's not to put on any type of show. It's important to get them to talk to you in the car and not just doom scroll. Because I think what a lot of parents run into is that they're just going from place to place with the kid on the phone, and they're not having what happened in your day today, or they're not having hey, what's going on with the latest on whatever. You're not finding out what's going on in their world. And we stay in this sort of phone thing. So the car conversations are big.
So watch this, right? And this is for the listeners.
Yeah.
Treat your kids like ChatGPT.
Okay.
So the power of AI right now, and those who really harness the power of AI, you know what they're really, really good at?
What's that?
Take a guess. What are they good at?
At asking the question?
Prompting.
What do you mean?
Prompting. So the whole thing with ChatGPT, right?
Yeah.
Is ChatGPT will only perform for you as well as you're able to prompt it, or as well as you're able to kind of phrase and form the questions that you want it to give you, right? So my kids are young, 10 and 7.
Yeah.
2 years ago, so they were younger. So they were at the time 8 and 6, 8 and 5. They were coming home from school and I was asking, hey, how's your day? How's your day? And I was getting good. One word answer.
That's what they do.
And I thought to myself, I said, I'm too young. Or they're too young. They're too young to get there yet. They're supposed to be excited to tell me about their day, right?
Yeah.
Now, my background is sales, and that's part of what I train with my coaching.
Yeah.
And so I put my sales hat on. I thought, like, okay, so in a sales environment, that's a bad question, right? So I started to think, what would be a better question or a better prompt?
Yeah.
So I changed my prompt.
Oh, okay,
so my prompt now is, what was the best part of your day?
Yeah.
Because if I ask what the best part of their day was,
you gotta think about
you gotta think, and you gotta tell me something.
Yes.
And it leads to dialogue. So if you say the best part of your day was lunch, and let's say it's all you give me, but that opens the door for another prompt. Why was lunch the best part?
Yeah.
Now you gotta talk to me. If you say there was no best part of your day, now it's a new prompt.
Yeah.
Well, what was the worst part of your day? Well, I hated this happened and that. My oldest daughter, she plays football at recess.
Yeah.
They didn't pass me the ball today, and they don't know I can head top these boys. And she goes in. Shout out to Maya. That's my oldest. And so now, but I'm prompting her, right?
Mhm.
And I'm being thoughtful in what I'm asking because I want information.
Absolutely.
And I want to get good information. I don't want just a one-word answer. So if you're a parent and you're watching this, think about how you prompt your kid, because it's all about prompting. So be thoughtful in it, and don't just be mechanical, and don't be scripted, because that's how honestly, that's how communication gets stale.
Yeah.
Is because our scripts and our presets.
Yeah. We go to the same question over, how was your day? No, my day was good. You can already tell what the answer is.
100%.
And you disengage as opposed to engaging more into,
right,
I care about your day.
Right.
And that's what they hear
right
when you say it.
Right.
I also want to get into the coaching thing. Daniel Snead joins us now here on the show. I wanted to get into that because I do know that you not only are trying to help people that come from all sorts of backgrounds. You told me before, you've come across different people that had one confidence, two, they're intelligent, but they just don't know how to pull it all together and manifest it.
Right.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So I started Best Bet Skills Academy, right? So that academy, it is designed specifically to help young people who are intelligent, smart, maybe a little shy.
Yeah.
Some of them are outgoing, whatever. But the thing is that traditional education isn't their jam. So they're the kids that say stuff like, why am I going to use this? I'm never going to use it in life.
Yeah.
I could do the trig, but when am I going to use trigs? I'm not interested. So for them, right, my whole thought was, you ever see the movie Meet the Robinsons?
Yes. Yeah.
So very, very kind of like side plot in Meet the Robinsons is Franny, the wife in the movie. She's got these frogs that she taught music.
Yes.
You remember that?
Yes.
Singing frogs?
Oh, absolutely.
Well, the thing was, when she was younger, for some reason, she believed that frogs could sing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so for me, a few years ago, I believed that if you teach young people high impact communication skills, I believe they would grab it, because I believed it would make sense for them. And right now, a big part of our education system is a lot of it doesn't make sense. Yeah. Right. And so from my own journey, right, what I began to see is that sales is one of the things that I coach.
Yeah.
Right. And I saw that a lot of people ended up in sales, meaning that they didn't seek it out.
Yeah.
They went to college, they did life, and through roundabout ways, late 20s, early 30s, they end up in a sales position.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I love it here. Oh, I love sales. I'm making great my But a lot of people get there with a whole bunch of baggage. They got student loan debt.
Yep.
They got credit card debt.
Yep.
From all these years, they were trying to figure it out.
Yep.
So my thing was, well, what if I taught a kid how to sell at 16 or 17 and he treated it like you treat plumbing, like a trade?
Like a trade. Yep.
What if you treat communication like a trade when you talk about public speaking, right? And public speaking, not just being in front of a stage, but even what if I spoke to you about my book, right? I got a book and I'm talking to you about the book, but I can't talk.
Yeah.
And I'm mumbling.
Yeah.
You're not talking to me today.
Yeah. If you got to get through the elevator pitch, people don't understand that. You have to have sort of a 15-second thing that talks about the book that really
100%
explain, like, oh, tell me more, which leads more to prompting.
So we're always on, right? And so my thought was, wow, if I could coach young people in these things, I believe I can change their trajectory.
Yeah.
Right. So I got one student. I'll give you a great example. His name is Juan. I got Juan when he was 21, and he had been back and forth in and out of college for 2 years.
Not sure what to do.
He'd be in and not happy. Then he'd be out. I can't really make money.
Yeah.
So he'd go back.
Yeah.
And then not be. It was a cycle, right? So boom, relationship building, right? We teach about relationships and building, because a lot of kids say, "Oh, I know how to network." They think they know what networking is, but they're not really good at actually building relationships.
Yeah.
So we go through all of that. He gets his first job in sales. His first year, he makes 80 grand, right? Now, he went from $16 an hour at a comedy club part-time. First year in sales, 80 grand. Last year, he did 117. 23 years old at this time, no student loan debt.
Yeah.
That's he's the prototype.
Yeah.
He is, when someone says, what do you do? That.
Yeah.
I take a young person who doesn't see the value in spending money, spinning their wheels, not going anywhere, and I give them skills that now put them in position to create.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And even if the thing that I love about it is that when it comes to relationships, sales, when it comes to public speaking, content creation, leadership, when it comes to these things, right? Even if you don't really know what the thing is you're going to do forever, right? You don't get to that passion, you found your space in radio, right?
Yeah.
But let's say on the way there, right? You can have a placeholder job where instead of making minimum wage at a Starbucks, you can make 6 figures selling software because you built the skill set that was valuable, right?
And able to use in any trade that you wanted to do it in.
It's you can take that everywhere, no matter where you go. And so and then the coaching aspect, right, is coaching is what builds habit. Coaching is what builds what's the word I want? There's a word. It's not proficiency. It's another word. I can't think of it right now, but it builds that thing where I know my way around this, right?
Yeah.
And so I had to listen to this, right? So 2 days of Sunday, it was this past Sunday. My friend Craig, he opens a gym up for some young guys. He's got an organization called Eyeball. He helps young guys that are into basketball get into colleges, prep schools, and all of that, right?
Yeah.
So he invited me to come down and just play ball with the kids, right? So I'm playing. Of course, I'm a cook. I'm always talking to the kids and talking my talk. So afterwards, I'm talking to these 2 young guys. They're post high school. They're trying to figure out their next step of where they're going to play. So I'm giving them some like networking tips and just, hey, these are some things you can do. And so I go in and telling them, hey, you didn't get my information just now because we're getting ready to leave the gym. I said, neither of y'all got my information. I have no way to stay in touch with me.
Yeah.
So the one kid goes, oh, yeah, I remember hearing that before. This guy came to the gym like last year and he was talking about that. I looked at him. I said, that guy was me. I said, because I had come in to speak to the kids before, right?
Yeah.
And so I love that moment because it proved my thought that information is cool.
Yeah.
And he had that information, but he didn't have any skill. He didn't have a habit because here we are a year later and he's not executing on the information. He had the information, but it wasn't habit.
Now this goes a little bit deeper. This goes to sort of the psychology as to why there was no follow through action. That's another level of it as well. Confidence is part of it. I think there's a lot of different things that goes on in that person's world, in that individual's world, to try to sort through that. But once you break through that first time, or you actually implement something and it works out, the euphoria that you have, like the feeling that you have, like, oh man, I can't believe I was holding back and not following through by just making a phone call or just going to this event or just, I was going to take a nap today. Like just doing the one thing that's difficult. And once you get over it, you're like, oh man, I can't believe I was tripping on doing this.
Right.
And so that's how we got to this point. That's how we got to this
Absolutely.
point. You get to a point where you're just like, all right, take a chance. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
Right.
But that's also handling rejection.
Right.
We sometimes, would you not agree, set ourselves up for the rejection before we even start
100%.
the movement.
I spoke to some kids from the Baltimore Youth Works program like 2 weeks ago. We did a virtual thing, right? And I was talking to them about small talk. And a lot of them were like, well, we don't even know how to get small talk going. Like, and I said, okay, so sometimes it's 2 things a lot of times. One, it's mechanics. A lot of young people, even adults, they don't understand the mechanics and purpose of small talk, right? People, and it's been this thing on social media. People, I hate small talk. Small talk is actually the gateway. Small talk is you're actually finding what's in common to where you can get into the flow of conversation. And once you get in the flow of conversation,
you're good. That's
where the magic happens. Like that's where good stuff happens. So there's the mechanics of it, but then there's the psychology. And I was telling the kid, I was like, for me, what I do is I psych myself up and I start envisioning what doesn't happen if I don't say anything.
Yeah.
So when I saw you at the Y, right?
Yeah.
You don't know me.
No, yeah.
But I know you because you're on the radio and I see you. So I'm just like, in my mind, I'm like, well, if you don't introduce yourself and tell him about the book, then he may not read it. And if he doesn't read it, he can't put it on the radio. If it doesn't go on the radio, then you can't reach your goal of selling 1 million copies in a year.
Yeah.
So now I'm like, dang, well, shoot. If all I got to do is open my mouth and talk, if there's a possibility that all that stuff can happen, if I say something, I would rather say something and at least have a chance.
Yo, y'all don't understand. It worked. I don't know how many times he's done it with different people, but it worked. It didn't work immediately, but it did work because I started looking at his social. I'm like, man, he's out and about. He's really doing stuff. He's really helping people. He's going to different events. He's doing this. He's doing that. I'm like, let me go find out more about this.
Yeah.
Read the book, talked a little bit about it. And then we came in, we're doing the podcast network. And that's how it all started. If you get a chance, can you give out all of your social media now? So that people know?
Best Bet Dan everywhere. This is my camera.
Yeah.
I'm Best Bet Dan everywhere on Instagram, on YouTube, on TikTok. You type in Best Bet Dan, you will find me everywhere.
I appreciate it. Make sure you come up, say hi. Very cool, brother. I know we talked a few times. But I'm glad we were able to get this done.
Absolutely.
And I'm glad you were the first guest.
This is actually crazy.
It is such a bizarre. We'll tell the whole story at a later date because we don't have much time left. But I want to get into it because it's a process that even I had to, as old as I am, go through. So I don't want these people to think that this is just something that for young people. This is for all people. We have to get back to the very easy conversation of talking to one another and finding out what's going on so we can build each other up. Thank you for tuning in for the podcast network. We'll insert all the different things down. Make sure you subscribe to WDKX's podcast network at WDKX.WDKX.com. Danny, thanks for the time, man. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
And we are 103.9 WDKX.